Hey y'all! So I wanted to talk today about kind of what I've been doing and what the rest of my plans for the off season are. I had a good amount of questions about this because I think for so long I was just like prep mode, prep mode, prep mode, and then I just kind of like stopped talking about what I was doing just because I was just kind of doing my own thing. Like I am. I just kind of will get in those modes where I'm like really vocal about stuff, and then other times I'm just kind of like more quiet and to myself. So I wanted to kind of go over what the past 5 to 6 weeks have looked like. I think this Sunday will be officially 6 weeks post show. And then so what I've been doing and then what my plans are for the rest of my off season. So for context, my last show was the San Marino Pro on December 4th. So I started my prep, it was 29 weeks total. So the first show, I dieted for 22 weeks and then I did the Phoenix Europa. And then I did 2 other shows kind of in between there. And then I did the San Marino Pro. The reason I did that show was because I just thought it was gonna be a cool experience, which it was. And I really don't plan on competing that late in the year ever again. So I thought they're probably not gonna change the date of the show. I'm already ready. Why don't I just do this? So it was kind of hard to hold on to the conditioning for that long. It was an additional 4 weeks of prep, and while I did actually add food, which was pretty cool, I it still was hard. Being at that body fat level, no matter how much you're eating, I don't care if you're eating 4,000 calories and you're at a really low body fat level, you just don't feel good. But it was all good. It was a really fun experience, and I'm really happy that I did it. But so now, by the time this video comes out, I've edited it and all those things, it'll be about 6 weeks post-show. So what have I done since then? I've posted about 2 physique kind of updates, just like not really in a bikini or anything, because I'm clearly way too pale to be in a bikini and not lean enough, but we're crazy. I could definitely post a picture in a bikini, but I don't really like wearing my suit and hitting poses unless I'm like prepping. I just feel like weird doing that. I don't know. So I'll just do more like gym type selfies or like in the mirror, like in the morning, whatever. So where am I at? I've pretty much immediately started eating whatever I wanted. I'll just be fucking honest. If you watched that other video, you listened to what I was doing before the show, and then you heard that I was in Rome, and I had a night after the show. So I pretty much went straight to eating whatever I wanted. And that's just kind of how I do things. And it's not always the best plan, obviously. You usually, but the only reason that I felt more comfortable doing that this time was because I did actually eat a good amount leading up to the show. It's still not ideal. I'm never gonna sit here and say, oh, this is the most optimal plan. Like, no, that was definitely not the most optimal plan, of just kind of like willy-nilly like eating my face off in Italy. But I did it and I wanted to. And I think the biggest difference is when people don't make that choice. I know what I was doing, you know what I mean? Like I could have eaten better options all the way, but I didn't want to. So I made the choice to eat whatever I wanted. And then, I was at home that week and just kind of ate normal, but whatever. And then, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this for a week and then I'll, take a break. I actually did take a full week off of the gym. We were pretty active, like just doing stuff. But actual training, just because I have several injuries, still kind of nagging around. So I wanted to really let that heal. And so I took a full week off the gym. And again, I would not recommend that unless you are hurt. And it was getting to the point where it was like hard to walk, kind of a injury. So, it was good for me to take time, and I actually felt way better after taking that time. Normally I wouldn't suggest that because if you're eating a lot, you usually should have more physical activity, obviously, to kind of counterbalance that. But again, injuries are a little bit different. So I had a full week off of training and then a full week of just kind of eating what I wanted. Like there's always certain things that I measure just from like a cost perspective and just kind of like wanting to know what I'm eating. Like I'll literally always measure my egg white because I know how much it like looks like, but that's just something that I just always measure no matter what. Even if I'm not tracking it, I'll measure a lot of stuff. So I wasn't tracking really at all. I wasn't tracking it at all. I'm gonna try to like pretend I'm sort of no, I was not tracking it at all. I was measuring some things and not measuring other things. Going out to eat, doing things, at home that I had wanted to do. And then I came back up to Tampa, and then I just kind of had full intentions really of like, I'm gonna, you know, track all my food. No, I don't know why I always try to do that to myself after the show. I am somebody who enjoys loosely tracking, unless I'm in a competition prep. I just can't do it year round. And you know, I think it's really important for people to do it at certain points in their life. But I've done this enough for long enough that I kind of know around where I need to be eating. And if I overeat from that, I'm making that conscious choice. Now, before, I think it's important to kind of more religiously track before prep. So you do know, like, is this actually like your maintenance, or are you losing or are you gaining, you know, things like that. But I'm not close to a prep yet. So I was just kind of doing my own thing, right? Trying to figure it out. Because if I put too much stress on myself, what actually ends up happening is that I will drastically overeat, for no reason, not that I really want to, but just because I'm like trying to hit certain numbers. And so for me, again, I found that immediately post show, while it may not be the best to just kind of not track, psychologically it's better for me because I do need that sort of a break. So everyone's really different, you know. Some people really find comfort in the tracking. Some people find anxiety from it. Some people need to kind of blend intuitive and tracking. That's kind of what I've been doing. So what I developed was this kind of style, I guess you could say, over the holidays. So basically, like, my show was the 4th. I had a week of no training, eating whatever I wanted, and then I came back and I'm like, boom, it's the holidays. So, you know, anyone who knows that we just went through this, the holidays have a lot of food, you know, and especially if you're foodie, there's food everywhere. And there's just like more events, there's just more social things, there's like parties, and there's this, and there's that, whatever. There's just more social aspects, and there's more just like treats around the house. And I really was kind of like, I don't know how I'm gonna handle this. But what I found was the best for me was this loosely tracking / intuitive approach. So I still have the note in my phone. I don't use a tracking app. I find that gives me anxiety too. There's just so many, I don't know. I have to either write it down, or, you know, if I write it down, then I will just transfer it to a note. And I was just doing this honestly from a sciencey kind of perspective, like, how did this work for me? So I found that I could really honestly maintain on loosely tracking, but also eating kind of a lot. Anyone who knows me knows that I really enjoy eating a lot. And I feel like I say this in every video. People are probably like, God, this girl's such a fat fuck. No, like, seriously, I have a huge sweet tooth, so it can kind of be my downfall. And during prep, it's easier to kind of just ignore it, because I'm like, well, that's not gonna fit my numbers, how much of it I wanna eat. So I just kind of ignore it. But then after prep, I'm like, oh, give me all the sweets, especially during the holidays. So if you look at like my notes, it's like my numbers tracked for the day, plus like all these like desserts. I kind of got into the routine of like literally eating dessert after every meal. I mean, besides breakfast, geez, not that bad. But there was just always stuff around the house, and it's pretty funny. Like, if you look at my, I'm gonna pull one up. So for example, I would write like, okay, on Sunday I had 4 of my meals tracked. I hit my carbs, fats, protein, my fiber, and then plus 3 cookies, 5 s'more balls, 1.5 brownies. Next day, hit my numbers, 3 cookies, brownie, cheesecake bites, wine. This is the other thing, I love wine, so I would have wine a lot of nights. So that's kind of what I would do, is I would track most of my meals, and then I would hit plus whatever, because I'm not gonna try to figure out what the hell macros in a s'mores ball, whatever. No, and nor do I care. Loosely like tracking some of the things and then not tracking other things was like the perfect balance for me. I kept my cardio up because I felt good, so I was enjoying it. I was training hard. I was kind of just maintaining my weight. So now I've pretty much been maintaining my weight. You know, it does fluctuate several pounds here and there. But I didn't weigh myself really initially after the show, like the week of, because I was like, I don't want to, you know, again, don't want to do that. And then over the break, over the holidays, I kind of would just every few days, whenever I felt like it, you know, some days it was every, you know, 3 or 4 days, sometimes it'd be a week, I'd weigh myself, and I wouldn't get really too caught up with it, because again, I'd prep some meals, I would track others, and then I would just tack on other things if I wanted, plus 2 glasses of wine, plus a cookie. And you know, that was what really worked for me, training hard, keeping the cardio in, whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I managed the holidays, eating a lot, eating what I wanted and maintaining my weight, which was pretty cool. Now, I was doing a good amount of cardio while I was home for the holidays, because me and my dad like to do cardio together, and because he loves to walk, so we would go on do a good amount of cardio. I've dropped that back since I got home. Sheerly from the perspective of I don't want to be doing too much, but I haven't cut it out completely because I do enjoy cardio and I do enjoy walking. Whoa, can't believe I said that. Yeah, I've actually grown to love just low intensity kind of walks. And sometimes it's before training on the treadmill, and then other times it's outside when it's nice. Sometimes I'll do it with my friends, or I'll put like a podcast on. And it's just kind of like a cool time to just either learn or catch up with friends, and you know, you're doing something. Me and Paul just actually made a video on off-season cardio and how our thoughts have changed on that. So I pretend that I know how to link that, which I don't, but go visit that. Go to his channel. Oh, actually, no, that was on my channel. Go to my channel and watch. Oh, we did a different one for his channel. Same day, so I'm confusing it. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm loosely tracking. And some meals are set. I'm still meal prepping. I pretty much have the same breakfast in some capacity every morning, roughly, unless I eat out. And then I usually have like 2 meals prepped. And then I usually will have like a snack or another meal, kind of just whatever I feel like. Maybe it's eating out, maybe it's something that I made at home, and maybe it's something that I don't want to track, you know what I mean? Like there's some things that are just more annoying to track than others. And I can kind of do my meal prep meals, and those are easy to know the numbers. And then sometimes I just want to make something and just make it and just eat it, or I want to just go out to eat and not really try to figure out what's in there. I know I could, because I've done that a million times, but there's some times where I feel like this balance of tracking and intuitiveness is really important. Like I said, this has been the past 6 weeks what I've done, and there's some days where I'm more on point, where I eat less, and there's other days where I eat a lot more, based on either I want to, again, it's all what I want to do, or I've eaten out more, or my schedule's just kind of crazy, like whatever it is. So the intake does fluctuate, so I do think it's important, if you are doing something like an intuitive approach or combining intuitive and tracking, that you do have a good grasp on that intake. Because if you are going to do a prep at some point or a diet at some point, it is important to kind of know where that maintenance is. So for me, example, before a prep or before I'm going to start whatever, I will probably track for a few weeks a little bit more religiously, a little bit tighter, so I do have an idea of the intake. And then if it is something where I'm like, okay, I tracked my meals plus I added this, I'll just say, okay, that's about X amount of calories, and then just kind of go from there. But I think that is important before a prep or a long diet. If anyone followed my journey for the show, you saw that I did lose a significant amount of weight for this show season. I've talked about this before in other videos, in many posts, but I just needed to do that for my body because I had prepped a lot. I needed to kind of let it do whatever it wanted, and then I gave it enough time to diet. And my diet actually went really, really well this year. I was super excited with how I looked, how I responded. Of course, there's plenty of things to improve on, but as far as how I actually metabolically responded and to the diet and the deficits was really, really exciting. A few things to note that I have been doing in this 6 weeks of intuitive and tracking. I have kept protein pretty high. I would honestly surprise myself some days when I would track on my ocean. And I genuinely enjoy eating protein. And I would keep it higher during prep just because, I was hungry and whatnot. And there's some preliminary data to show from our lab and other labs that having excess calories just from protein don't necessarily, don't hinder your results. These are only in off-season studies, but basically they've shown that it's been, in our lab at least, you've gained weight, but it's mostly on muscle mass or lean body mass, which is not just muscle, but so that's all exciting things. So that was something that I noted, that when I was doing my loosely tracking, because I wasn't trying to hit numbers, what I would do is I would just eat and track it. And then I would find that I was like, man, I'm really like killing the protein. So, maybe that's something that contributed to me feeling a little bit leaner this time. But I'm kind of in that comfortable range right now with my weight. The other day I was 140 when I woke up. So I'm kind of in this comfortable range where I feel like I can maintain, and I don't necessarily feel like I need to get a lot over. Again, I'm not going to try to oh my God, I can't weigh this much, or I have to weigh this little, or whatever. I'm not going to try to fluctuate up and down. But I do think that this is a more comfortable maintaining weight than my previous years. My previous year, like starting point, I don't necessarily want to get there because it does take a really long time to diet if you do want to do it correctly. So I'm never going to rush a prep, but I don't necessarily, maybe if I don't have as many pounds to lose, maybe I don't need to diet for as many weeks. This is what I'm trying to get at. I have to strategically diet for my shows based on when is best for my schedule, for my clients' schedules. And then also, you know, like future shows, like, you know, of course my goal is always to qualify for Olympia and be invited to the Arnolds. So this year doing the shows so late in the year, I didn't apply to the Arnolds because then I basically would have had to continue dieting after Italy, and in order to look my best, and I just really didn't want to do that. Well, I kind of did for a minute, you know, when you're in it, you're like, yeah, I'll just keep dieting. And thankfully Ryan is my voice of wisdom for a lot of these things, and he's like, you cannot keep dieting for this. This is not a good idea. Like, you're just gonna find yourself in the same situation. Very happy that I listened to him. Thanks, babe. But no, you know, you do need that person sometimes, and whether that's your significant other, family member, coach, mentor, whoever it is. I have a lot of clients who are like, oh, I want to do this, and I'm like, it's not going to be the best for your long-term goals. So my long-term goal is to compete in those shows, but it's not a set time, right? There's not a set date that I need to do it. So if it happens, it happens, but I have to be strategic. So this year I will likely do more of the summer shows. Not really sure exactly when I will start. That will depend on a lot of things business-wise. I have a lot of projects coming up, a lot of things that I'm doing, and I want to give my full energies to, and not really be worried about, you know, dieting if I miss a meal or if I have to eat out or something, or, you know, there's just so much planning that goes into prep that it can really take away from other things. So I want to be able to fully give everything to my project, to my clients, train hard, but not necessarily worry as much about me. I just kind of like let my body follow. So we'll see, kind of the summer-ish shows, probably no earlier than June, probably no later than September. So that kind of span is what I'm thinking, because then if I do that, I'll be able to do the Arnold's next year, or apply if I get invited, but apply for next year and be in a good position for that. So I'm not exactly sure when I'm gonna start prep. I'm just kind of gonna, you know, keep training hard. My injuries are still healing up. They're not massive injuries, which is why they're more frustrating. You know, I can still train, but it's in pain. So it's just annoying. And I still can't do certain movements, which is, it's definitely hard. You know, it's not good to be able to have to cut out certain things. But everything's getting better over time as I'm kind of working around it. And I'm actually on a really good program right now that's not necessarily bothering any of my glute issues. So that's good. And hopefully I'll be able to keep progressing on that. And then once I'm healed up, I can go back to my other stuff. So that's the recap of what I've been doing. Past 6 weeks, training hard, keeping some cardio in, but not as much as I was doing during prep. Absolutely zero hit. I'm training about 4 to 5 days a week, and the only cardio I'm doing is walking. Again, sometimes before on the treadmill as a warm-up, and then sometimes it's just outside because I want to enjoy a nice long walk. Training's been good, working around my injuries, but I'm still training hard on that. I'm feeling fuller, which is nice. Obviously I've gained weight, but you know, I do feel fuller and muscular again, which is nice, because sometimes, you know, when we get to the end of a prep, we look good in a bikini, but we might look kind of like just skinny in clothes. I feel like skinny in clothes. I'm like, ooh. So, you know, it's like, you either like want abs or you want to feel like full in clothes. Like there's like a, you know, there's always crazy bikini girl problems, right? Anyone who's competed knows what I'm talking about. Like you feel like skinny, but then you're like, oh, look at my abs though. And then like right now I'm like, yeah, look at my legs. And then I'm like, oh, where are my abs? But it all comes with the territory, and you have to be able to enjoy all parts of the process. So for the first 6 weeks, I kind of tracked loosely and intuitively ate. And that's probably what I'm going to continue to do over the next X amount of weeks. Haven't decided again when I'm going to start prepping, what shows I'm even going to do. It really will depend on how I continue to respond. You know, if I continue to maintain here, I'm going to be in a way better place to do a show than I was last year when I needed, you know, 6 and 7 months to prep. It's a lot longer, right? So not really sure the specifics. I'll keep you guys updated, of course, through my social. But you know, I'm happy with this physique. You know, plus or minus a little bit here is kind of a good off-season look for me. Again, feel good, have the mental capacity to do other projects and kind of give it my all. Yeah, maybe I don't have ab veins, which I never really have ab veins anyway, but just, you know, what I'm talking about, like that really, really tight photo shoot look. But you know what? Life isn't all about abs, right? I have to remind myself that too. We all kind of have to remind ourselves that when we've competed and we've seen our bodies in that kind of a shape. So I'm just gonna keep enjoying things, gonna keep enjoying my food, but I'm also gonna keep tracking and weighing certain things. So it's that happy medium, it's that balance. And if things are too structured for me, I will, you know, it's really good for certain things like prep, but I can't live my whole life like that all the time. It just doesn't really work for me, which is why I'm really big on my structured flexibility motto, which I'm going to delve more into on a different vlog. But I think it's really important to kind of have both, have that structure, have that flexibility, and know when to interchange one for the other, or give, you know, if it was a scale, to be doing this. So hopefully that was helpful, give you guys some insight on what I've been doing and what I am going to continue to do. And I'll be sure to update you if anything changes, and be sure to follow along social, and you'll be able to kind of see week to week updates. Thank you guys so much for watching.